area. JP joining us now. JP, that's an area you're familiar with, but certainly shows the dangers of these afternoon storms.
Yeah, we've had some storms explode across the area this afternoon, and the trend this week, as you indicated at the top of the program, a much wetter weather pattern, but we need the rain, and after some of the heat that we've been experiencing, I'm okay with getting a little wet.
Hey, I'm okay with it. You know, last week, towards the end of the week, it was looking like we need some rain. Are we going to see some rain?
Right.
And it's really turned into, wow, we're going to have a good chance for this week. That's the next big thing that we're talking about. A live look from Boardman Carr Law Firm in Chelsea, and low visibility there because, well, we've got some rain that's tapering off in the Chelsea area. But look at that, JP, 76 degrees.
I'll take it. I live in Chelsea. That is fantastic. Every day my car has been like 98 degrees. So
it's amazing. I mean, we were in the mid-90s a few moments ago, but you get these afternoon storms, it just takes all that energy out of the air. You can feel it, and that's going to happen every day this week. We're going to see some of these scattered storms. I can't promise everybody's going to see rain every day, but hopefully where you are, you'll pick up some of that wet weather. It has been coming down here in the Jacksonville State area. You can see from JSU campus there, still raining and gusty winds. Look at that, up to 29 miles per hour. Last temperature report showed 82. That dropped from the 90s, but I'm sure by this point we're already feeling some upper 70s there across Jacksonville and into Calhoun County. But most of the storm activity is to the east. You can see where it's been raining earlier in the day. We're still showing 70s. Fayette, Tuscaloosa, Haleyville 82. Hamilton, we rebounded to 83. Coleman 81. 82 around Aniana. But a lot of this rain there to the south. Even some leftover showers for us here in Tuscaloosa County around Foster's, and you can see that's around places like Romulus down towards Utah. We had some storms around Clanton. You can see where some of that lightning happened, and right now Rockford, that's another area we'll talk about. Let's first go in across Calhoun County because these storms are now pushing into places like White Plains, and I want to make sure everyone here is indoors. It's a non-severe storm, but it is producing some intense lightning as that moves to the east. Weaver into the Bush area, and you can see that heaviest of the rain now pushing in. There's Anniston, Oxford, Airport down in here. You can see that the leading edge of the heavy rain just now moving in along that 431 corridor. And then as we back the view out, we'll go further south down into parts of Coosa County, and you can see those storms around Rockford, and those are tracking to the east there. Quite a bit of lightning with those as well as they move on to the east direction. But notice out ahead of that, you see that little line. That's the rain-cooled air. So for locations even out ahead of these storms, you're going to notice a nice little breeze with those nearby thunderstorms as that gust front moves across the area. But there's going to be another heat advisory for tomorrow, and we're going to heat up again. Temperatures low to mid-90s, heat index topping 100 during the day. We're not seeing the excessive heat values, but still some dangerous heat out there. We'll need to play it safe before we start to see more of those thunderstorms, and they're going to be very likely by the end of the week. We'll see those rain chances just continue to go up as the week goes on. And across the nation, parts of Chicago cleaning up today after being impacted by severe weather last night. And this actually continued into the early morning hours. The storms brought heavy rain and winds, intense lightning throughout the area, brought down many trees, including this one on top of a car. More than 15,000 customers were left without power during the overnight. The outdoor warning sirens were going off as storms moved through the area. The threat for severe storms included the tornadoes, the strong wind gusts, and that's going to continue across that state and other parts of the Midwest where we've been tracking that more active pattern over the past couple of weeks. And as we prepare for showers and storms in our area, meteorologist Matt Daniel joins us now with the importance of safe driving on those wet roads when we get into these situations to how to prevent hydroplaning.
All right, we've been advertising it and letting you know, and you probably saw it on your app, but our rain chances this week looking pretty promising, especially by the end and into the weekend. So yeah, that's a puddle. I know it might be weird to see, but yeah, we're going to have some opportunities for rain. But I just want to let you know about some safety. When it hasn't been raining for a while and it's been pretty dry, we got to be really careful on the roads because when they get wet, they get very slick, especially if it's been dry for a while. You get the oil rising to the surface and it really makes it slippery. So when it's dry outside, those tires make contact with the road at all times. But of course, when it's wet, you'll lose some of that contact with the wet road and at certain speeds, and then you get hydroplaning, and that's where we see those accidents happening. So let's give you an example. This is the dry side of things, and of course when it's raining, when it's dry, you got traction on all 4 tires, no issues whatsoever. But when it's raining outside, that's when you have to worry about hydroplaning, especially at a fast speed. So at slow speeds, that water return to the underside of the tires not as much, and so therefore you're not seeing as much contact and you can drive pretty easily. But when you start speeding up a little bit, you're going to get less road contact with the tire because of all that standing water, and that can cause some slippery conditions. You may be driving and you might go to the left or to the right, but if you're going really fast, you're getting all that water going all the way around the tire, and that's where we have a lot of accidents. So just being well aware of those issues, especially by the end of the week, because by Thursday, Friday, and even into the weekend, maybe you're traveling down to the Gulf Coast or visiting friends or family for a last-minute summer vacation, this might be an issue for you. So just slow it down and take it easy as those rain chances increase by the end of the week.
All right, thanks, Matt. And probably some hydroplaning out there today because of all of that rain. By the way, there's a little formula if you want to figure out what your hydroplaning speed is. It's 10.5 times the square root of your tire pressure. That's going to give you an estimated miles per hour of when you would start that hydroplaning. So think about that, a little math problem for you. Even though we are seeing some rain, we're not the only ones experiencing heat advisories. More than 100 million people are still under heat alerts right here in the U.S. Near record temperatures and high humidity expected through tomorrow in Baltimore. Feels like temperatures could reach 112 degrees, while in New York and Boston, they could see feels like temperatures reach 100. Meanwhile, in the central U.S., cities like Dallas, Little Rock, St. Louis, Kansas City are all under heat alerts. And even though our area will not be seeing temperatures like that because of our increased rain chances, the high this week, UAB health leaders are still urging parents to take some extra precautions this summer to ensure kids are safe in their cars. According to Dr. David Schwebel, director of Youth Safety Lab at UAB, parents must check their back seats. I know, sounds like common sense, but people get busy. Look back there as temperatures rise to prevent the consequences of leaving children in hot cars. Some cars now have a little reminder. It says check the back seat. He says this often occurs due to changes in routine. If you're not, for example, used to picking your child up at school, you may forget. Again, people sometimes get really busy.
Best thing to do, in my opinion, is leave something in the back seat you'd never forget. You'll never forget your cell phone, would you? Put that cell phone in the back seat with the baby. You're not going to leave the baby because you're not going to leave the cell phone.
Good advice, and pretty sad here. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in 2023, 29 children died of heat stroke in vehicles. So check that back seat. In 30 seconds, we are going to take a quick look at our radar and update you on what's going on.
You are watching First Alert Weather Extra, and as we watch the radar, we have some intense lightning storms across Calhoun County, Weaver area right now. Still heavy rain. Oxford, Anniston, stay indoors as these storms move on through, and should see this over the next hour, of course, lessening in intensity. We have some leftover showers over parts of St. Clair County around Pell City, some rain around Talladega, and there was a big lightning producer we're tracking to the south. This is moving towards Lake Martin, so for folks around Lake Martin, certainly want to pay close attention to this. We want to be off the water before those storms moving across Coosa County arrive. How much rain could we see this week? week. I want to show you some of the data from one of the global models, but just give you an idea that all the models here through Friday, I mean, we've seen rain totals like this today alone. I think we're going to see up to 2 to 3 inches of rain in some spots by Friday, Saturday, but notice every location. The one thing I like about this map, it shows everybody seeing at least some rain by the end of the week. And just looking at this forecast from last week's perspective, we just couldn't make that promise, but it's nice to see that the data, more confidence there that we could see some much needed rain. And I know as we move ahead through the end of the week, especially for those areas where we have the severe drought to the northwest. JP?
Yeah, good news this week. We are going to be looking at those increased rain chances. Coming up here in just a bit, we are going to break that down. Tell you what day of the week is going to be the wettest. In this week's Degree of Science, meteorologist Brady Taylor sits down and talks with a hydrologist about the process of forecasting different types of floods and how to stay safe.
When we talk about river flooding, which is a lot which I'll do, for the viewer out there, what's the difference between more flash flooding and the river flooding that you are trying to forecast for?
It's an area that overlaps. The easiest way is that if it is associated with the river rising, that is river flooding. Heavy rain can produce flash flooding, can overwhelm storm drainage, and can produce aerial flooding. That is a short term. Eventually it makes its way to the river and then the river starts rising. So the weather forecast offices across the nation, including the National Weather Service here in Fort Worth, they will issue flash flood warnings and those type of products to cover the short term and the aerial. But once it gets to a river system, we call it riverine flooding, then it falls, the calculations fall under the River Forecast Center, and we provide guidance so that our weather offices can issue more products that are more fine-tuned and detailed to help people make decisions.
What kind of advice would you give people when it comes to flood safety and preparedness and what to do when we go through something like that?
The first one, don't underestimate the power of water. I know this sounds kind of vague, but most of our stats show that we could probably eliminate half of our flood-related fatalities if we could keep people from driving through flooded roadways. But, you know, water's got a lot of heaviness to it, and when it's moving, it's got a lot of force to it. And you may think that you've got a big vehicle and can drive around it, but what I tell everyone, it doesn't matter how big your vehicle is. When you drive a vehicle into a flooded roadway and you lose contact and you start floating, you don't have a rudder, you don't have an engine, and you're at the mercy of the water. And if we could just get that, there's probably half of our flood-related fatalities. The rest is if you know your flood risk and you hear a flood warning, the Weather Service has determined that's a life-threatening situation. Take the appropriate action, and the appropriate action is get to higher ground.